Okay, it's about 6 o'clock. Today is Thursday, December 1st. This is the Parks, Recreation and Trails Commission meeting for the city of Menifee. It's 6 p.m., so we're going to go ahead and get started and call this meeting to order by doing a roll call. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Holcomb,
Here.
Commissioner Croy,
Here.
Commission Chair Zimmerman,
Here.
Commission Vice Chair Gidroyce,
Here.
Commissioner Rosen.
Speaking of Commissioner Rosen, we're happy to have you back after your surgery, so that's very positive. And with that, Marty, would you lead us in the flag salute, please?
Please begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Mr. Community Services Director, do we have any presentations this evening?
No, we do not.
Thank you. That moves us to item 5, which is our meeting minutes from November the 3rd. This is an opportunity for anyone to make any revisions if there are. If not, we'd like a motion to approve, please.
I'd move to approve.
Second.
All right, we have motion and second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, unanimous approval for the minutes. Do we want to make any modifications to tonight's agenda, Robert?
No.
Okay, and so now we're on public comments, and I noticed some folks came in this evening. So if you filled out a speaker slip to speak, we'll go ahead and have our clerk call you now.
Our first speaker is Nicholas Osborne.
Mr. Osborne, you have 3 minutes. There will be a light there at the podium that will turn to red when your time is done. Hopefully.
Well, that's just about to be in the skate park being closed down. Yeah, sorry about that. There is like a lot of us that do get paid to skateboard here, and it being closed down is making it really hard for us. We have to travel a lot further, and I mean the only option we have now is the Elsinore skate parks, McVicker Park, but they're even like there's all the ramps are falling apart. Everything's like it's dangerous now. Like, and we got my 4-year-old here that skates every day. His dream is to be like daddy and be sponsored and skate and get paid to skate and stuff. And he can't really do it anymore because we have to go so far, and we don't really want him to skate in that McVicker because all the ramps, all the screws coming up and everything, get people hurt. They're destroying skateboards and stuff, and just the distance is pretty bad. And I mean, we used to skate Menifee every single day, and like he loves that place. We all love it. But like it's just getting hard on like there's like 8 of us or 9 of us that actually make a living skateboarding at that park every day, and it's like getting really hard for us. Like we're losing out on a lot too. I mean, I know that the neighborhood nearby isn't really happy about things, but I mean, they kind of knew what they moved next to. It is a skate park and a park itself. I mean, if the skate park's not there, there's still going to be people there. I mean, it's just kind of without like no notice or nothing too. Just we woke up one day to go skate and it was just closed, and there's like you can't go in there at all anymore. But I mean, their arguments aren't really that much. I mean, compared to like the harassment that we're getting from the city nearby, because we have our 4-year-old. We're not going to park on Newport, so we would go to the cul-de-sac. They painted the curb red, but even before then, people that live in the housing nearby would chase you down with their cameras and yell and cuss at you because you're parking there. It's like, okay, like it's no one's house right there in that little section, so we should be able to park there. I mean, at least for safety for the children, at least, because I mean, I've had 4 of my friends' cars get totaled on Newport already in the last year. I've only been here a year. I don't know. It's not really, I don't know. It's kind of hard to be able to make a living skating when we don't have nowhere to skate, really. And that's pretty much all I can think of. Yeah. I mean, we're not the only ones, though. I mean, we are getting harassed by the neighborhood nearby. They're constantly calling cops for no reason just because there's a lot of people there or someone's playing music or something, you know. Maybe a time schedule or something like that, arrangement or something would be better, but I mean, closing it down is not really going to help very many people. And that's, I guess, my argument. That's my living, so it's hurting my job, you know. I don't harass them at their work, so I don't see why they should do it to us. And I'm on yellow, so I think that's it. Yeah, I think it says 30 seconds. But anyways, thank you guys for hearing, and we would like it if it was opened again. Thank you
All
guys.
right. Thank you, Mr. Osborne. We appreciate you taking your time and coming and sharing your thoughts today.
Our-
with-
excuse me.
I know we have one more speaker, but just on that topic, Robert, can you give a quick update as far as when we anticipate seeing the park reopening?
As we informed council at the last meeting, we anticipated at least 60 days for us to get the improvements, the remedial improvements done, and then we'd be coming back to them with really a schedule for and decision for them to make on supervision or not supervision. So it allows us time for the RFP process on an outside contractor.
All right, very good, thank you. Commissioner Rosen?
Is that coming before us before it goes to,
Yes, that's the intent, is that you would all see it ahead of that.
before they see it?
Yes.
I just have one question, which I want to give to you, so you could take care of it. But the previous speaker, Mr. Osborne, I was wondering if he was a Menifee resident.
Yes.
You are. That's important.
All right,
Okay.
very good. Thanks for answering the questions. We have another speaker?
We have a total of 2 more speakers. Our second speaker is Michael Palkovic.
I live in Menifee. Michael James
Who's there?
Balkovic.
And why are you here?
I don't want my park closed down. Because I want to be sponsored. It's a safe place for me to skate.
Because of your work. You have to speak into it because they can't hear you.
Did you say?
Because at my park, you can make them say it. Do you want me to say it for you? Because at his park, he doesn't run over screws. He doesn't risk falling and cutting himself open. Like at the other park that we went to, and when he did fall, he got a big boo-boo and he was cut. That never happened at our park, and he didn't like that very much. Is there anything else you want to say? Are you done? Okay.
All right, thank you, Michael and Mom.
He's only 4, so.
Okay, and our next speaker, please.
Sabrina Babylonia.
Can you say your last name again, please?
Babylonia.
Okay.
I'm very nervous, excuse me. I love the park, love the kids, love everybody there. I just began skating again this last year, and it's changed my life. And the community there is turning into a family. I am fully aware of changes that need to happen. I understand the community's concern with things. I just think it was disappointing that we were not made aware of the changes that needed to occur. I've been coming on the regular and hadn't seen any police there or anyone enforcing anything. I don't know what to say other than this is a sport. The wheels are a sport for those that are alternative type of folks and people, and it's not a community sport like a football team and things along those lines. So I understand that you're going to have a little bit rougher crowd and things along those lines, but they're amazing and skilled, and they give it their all, and it's a really great place for us to get together and enjoy the sport. So I wanted to just come and support tonight, just us reopening and actually seeing what type of I'm sorry, I do not live in Menifee, I'm in Elsinore. But what type of say the actual skaters can have in those improvements, or as in just anything that's going on with that. Well, I'd like us to really be represented. So, okay, that's fine.
Thank you for coming here tonight, Ms. Babylonia. Do we have another speaker?
Ray Riddenbaugh.
If you could restate your name, sir.
Oh, no, it's good. It's just right and boss, so it's good enough.
Okay.
I get them both. How you guys doing tonight? Thanks for letting me talk. I don't really got much to say. I understand that there is changes needed for the skate park. There's a lot going on there, a lot more than just skateboarding that we know of too. Being a Marietta local, I watched my local skate park go to the same exact thing, and I haven't been there since that happened, which is really unfortunate because I really love that park. And if it were to happen to the same thing at this park, I've grown to see, so many of the littler kids and the kids becoming my age, just get so much better with progress, and it's because of those two skate parks. And they're limited to the streets, but then also the cops are out there as well, which they're not as friendly as we would like them to be, or understanding of the people that skateboard for a job. It's really hard for them to do it comfortably. And not saying that we're all pro, not saying we're all going to go pro or whatever what it is, but it's also a place for us to keep us out of trouble. And I work full time. I work 55 hours a week. I skateboard every single day just as much as possible, and that's just the only thing that I have to do with my life. And other than that being said, I just don't want anything else bad for the skate park to happen. And there is a lot of good faces that do go there, a lot of good people that help change for the better. And just like the lady said earlier, it becomes a tight-knit family for a lot of people down there. And that's all I got to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Ridenbaugh. We appreciate you taking your time, sharing your thoughts. Any other speakers tonight?
That would be all.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Croy, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to make it clear to you guys that Robert's rules dictate that we really, since it's not on the agenda, we really can't get into a back and forth discussion as far as details. But I would invite you to go ahead and look at the tapes of the prior meetings, City Council and the parks, to get a little more feel of what, how this all transpired. And it is a complicated problem. We are anticipating that it's going to get better. As one who has a grandson who lives down there, he's pretty disappointed. And we hope to get that. It's a tremendous community asset, and you guys can rest assured that we all agree that it's a valuable asset, and we're going to do everything we can to make it work. That's right. Thank you.
Yep. Good point. Okay, so we're now on item 8.1, planning application 2015-239 for a tentative track map 36303. Community Services Director, could you please provide a staff report for this item, please?
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. This item is for consideration, review, and hopefully comments, if any, from the Commission on a conceptual landscape plan for tentative track map 36303, and then there's some emphasis on planning area 5, which I'll explain a little more as we go through the item. On the screen, though, is really a snapshot of all the areas that are incorporated within the specific plan for the Menifee Town Center. And I've put in red the box that is the tract in question. And you'll note on the next screen where the landscape areas are, and of course it's in your backup for the item. This map, it proposes 35.3 acres subdivided into 150 residential lots, one public park, 2 lots for water quality treatment, and 11 lots for landscaping and open space, which would essentially be the parkways. And so if we zoom in a bit, this is what that looks like. You have Santa Rosa Academy to the north. You have Holland Road to the south. Not Holland, I'm sorry. La Piedra, I believe, to the south. No, Holland Road to the south. And then you have also Hahn Road on the other end. So You'll note that the public park is in the middle of this exhibit. I want to emphasize that this evening, you're not necessarily reviewing the conceptual design of the public park. You're really only reviewing the conceptual design of the landscaping of the parkways. So there will be a separate application submitted for the park itself after this is done. I have included an exhibit for it, just so you can get a sneak peek of it in case there's any feedback you'd like us to relay to the applicant ahead of time, just to save them some time and money. But for the purposes of tonight, on the screen is the planting plan, proposed planting plan for those improvements. Staff has reviewed the submittal and determined that all of the proposed planting is consistent with the city's landscape design standards, including street trees at a minimum of 30 tree every 30 feet on on arterial streets. And go forward, the only additional comments that staff has for this is to provide a color maintenance exhibit for the area. Now, they do have one that was submitted on a previous plan for the entire specific plan, but we'd like something more detailed for the area in red for maintenance responsibilities, because this map is dated. And we'd like them to also provide a community bike lane Class 3 along Sherman Road, which is consistent with the Parks, Trails, Open Space, Recreation Master Plan, as is providing a bike lane Class 2 along Hahn Road, and then regional trail Class 1 along on the north side of Holland Road, which is on the south side of the project site. That really encompasses all of staff's comments on this plan review, but we're certainly open to consideration from anything additional from commission. Normally we wouldn't be bringing an item like this to you, but we wanted to really give you the opportunity to see, the sort of next steps with the expansion of open space in this specific plan, particularly with the park that's going to be coming in the middle. Again, if you have questions about the exhibit that's in your handout for the park, we can answer those as well. As there are some preliminary comments that we're working on, but since it's not a formal submittal, we did not put those together for the applicant. That really concludes my report.
Okay, very good, thank you. So it looks like Commissioner Croy has the first question.
Yeah, couple of questions. You have 150 units here. How big is the park in the middle?
I believe the proposed park space is about just shy of 2 acres, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. If we're supposed to develop at 3.164, aren't we shy? Are we going to get some in lieu of?
They would be in lieu of fees.
Okay, required out of this. The other question is on the two water quality basins. Once again, I must ask the question, is there any Quimby credit being granted here?
No, none at all.
Okay. They have in there in the staff report that those center areas on those water quality basins are being projected as play areas. I guess if you have to, you have to, but when it rains, those will not be play areas. I've seen that a lot, and I'm not a big fan of that.
So those are great comments to include on when the submittal on the park portion comes forward, which is exactly why I wanted to at least give you guys a taste of it now.
And on the general plan, is there a DG trail required on Holland Road?
Yes,
Is that included in the plan?
that's included in our comments here. So provide a regional trail Class 1 along north side of Holland.
Okay,
Yes.
great. Thank you. That's all for now.
Good questions. Okay, Commissioner Holcomb.
Yes, will all or a portion of the landscape be drought tolerant?
Yes, the developer is required to follow our current landscape design standards, which now calls out a specific palette and specific type of irrigation, which is all point to point.
Questions, commissioners? I have one concerning parking for that center piece. Do we anticipate requesting that we have a parking lot be included? Or is street parking sufficient?
Well, again, we haven't really gotten into the weeds on that submittal because it hasn't been formal yet, but in my discussions with the applicant, the developers, as you can see somewhat in this image, they've proposed some parallel parking along the street, which cuts into the park footprint itself. It's hard to see on this image. But I think your question is it sufficient for the size of the park? That's hard to say because the draft park concept is not for an active park, it's a passive park. I think they proposed a couple of picnic shelters, a playground, and then the additional comments that we've shared with the applicant is we'd like to see fitness stations throughout, around the perimeter, something we've been doing in some of the other projects we've had. So it's hard to say. I think I'd have to ask that question of engineering a little bit first, and then I'll let you know when it comes back with the park submittal.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Commissioner Rosen?
The park is in the center, so someone's going to have to walk through from wherever they park, presumably on the periphery, and all of those are going to be homes.
Yes, the proposal is for them to park right there at curbside adjacent to the park.
But curbside is 2 rows of houses away north, and at least, 3 houses of rows of houses north, and 3 rows of houses.
I think, let me clarify a little bit, that the parking opportunity is on F Drive and G Drive. Yeah, north is to your right on the screen, but F Drive is on top of the park, and G Drive is on the bottom of the park, as you see it on the screen right now. So there would essentially be curbside parking on both of those drives.
So people will be able to drive in and just be above the park? Or do they have to park outside the entire limit?
No, they park right there at the park.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Commissioner Croy?
In looking at this, in the staff report also, there's a breakdown of who's going to be responsible for what. I believe it's on the 4th page, where you have a colored legend there. The HOA is responsible for the, looks like the, the parkways, basically. And there's a CFD to be set up to maintain the water quality basins. And the idea, I guess, here is to dedicate this park to the city. My concern in just looking at it is it's very intense land use here, and it's where you see all those units, you also have to visualize that there's going to be a driveway in front of each one of those units. And it seems to me, and maybe I'm just, maybe I'm not seeing something I shouldn't, it seems to me that this park, in its small size, should be maintained by the HOA. It would seem to be better suited. I don't know if this is this going to be a gated community? I thought there was some talk about that.
Not as it's currently presented, no.
Okay. I can't see the public being very excited about coming down this neighborhood and using this park. I mean, I can see the residents being excited, but if you're counting 150 people there at 3.165 per unit, that park is going to be full by 10 o'clock on Saturday. I can't see anybody driving to this park and to say, hey, I'm going to go to this small little park. That's just a thought. Thanks.
It's a good thought. And recall, too, from the results of the park master plan, this is really in the gray area. If it's a park that's, 2 acres or less, it is the opportunity to not accept it as a public park and require the developer to incorporate it into the HOA. So it's a good comment. It can go either way.
And just to piggyback and staying on that subject before we go to Commissioner Holcomb, has our staff been talking and giving encouragement to provide a larger park as opposed to doing half of their Quimby requirement and paying fees in lieu of? Have we encouraged them to come in with 4 or 5 acres instead of 2?
We always do.
Okay.
I think the owners, in this case, the applicant, is Regent, and I think they intend to, once entitled, find a merchant builder to provide this to, and they may be close, I don't know, but the benefit for them is to get as many units in as possible, as you all know. So,
Okay. And I know that we're not the planning commission, but just out of curiosity, these lot sizes are about 5s or 6s? Do we even know?
I don't recall. I have to.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's okay. I was just curious.
They look like they're postage stamps.
It's the overall, excuse me, the overall specific plan, I believe it's the countryside specific plan. There it is, there's the whole thing. It's pretty intense as it is, as far as bulk and scale and, yeah, once it's all built. So I think just from a public standpoint to reduce some of that intensity, we'd really like to encourage as much, park and open areas as we can. I would like to have seen Regent come in and just do all, I guess if it's 4.5 acres, if you do the math, it comes out to something like that, maybe 5 acres would be preferable, certainly on our end, just to maybe have 2 parks or something along the roadway so it just doesn't look so intense, that's all. That's my thought when we're talking about.
Maybe I can make a recommendation for a consensus comment from the commission, is that in order for this to be considered as a public park maintained by the CFD, the applicant will want to consider increasing the park size
To about 5 acres.
to 4 or more. And then if it's going to be what it is or any less, then it could be, maybe the recommendation is that it just be HOA.
I like that.
I like that too.
That's great.
Okay.
Good idea.
Okay, so Commissioner Holcomb, you were waiting patiently.
Yes, thank you. Just to confirm, the separation between this tract and Santa Rosa Academy, that's going to be a brick wall, and in other words, Santa Rosa Academy students won't have easy access to just go across a field or whatever into this tract?
There's actually an existing wall there now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
To piggyback off of that, so, the Paloma Wash has a pathway on the west side and east side. So from the west, could there be an access gate that allows you to get through where that retention basin is and kind of work your way into that trail and in and out of the project?
Yes, I think what they did present was right at the I'll call that the northeast corner basin there. South portion of it right there, there's a darker line. I think that was a point of access to the trail itself.
I see. Okay, good, thank you. All right.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, there it is.
Thank you. So that you could get in and out. Good. All right, Commissioner Gidroy.
Well, I also support the idea of having at least 4 acres in order for it to be city park. I was wondering if the park wouldn't be better positioned closer to the wash instead of in the center of this housing tract to take care of the problem which Commissioner Croy brought up about driveways leading into it, and also to make it more accessible to the general public.
So you'd like to see
I'd
the
move it
park
over.
shifted?
Move it
Yeah,
down, you mean.
Move it down.
Okay.
Be nice if it also wasn't a rectangle. If it was square, it might get some more use besides picnic.
Can we go back to that overall? Yeah, this guy. So I'm just kind of curious about this whole project came to us, has come to us a couple of times, and I'm just looking at the balance of parks throughout. I'm seeing on here this northern portion of residential lots, but there's no park there.
An
And,
awful lot of lots there, too.
yeah. And then there's just to the south of the Civic Park, is that condominiums?
They are single detached, but they're townhome style.
Okay. Do we anticipate seeing any kind of park dedication for that?
No, both of those have already been approved and accepted as you see them on the screen here.
So that's why I'm asking, that's why I'm saying, I'm kind of encouraging as much park dedication as we can get. If we've already kind of missed the opportunity on those other ones, that, again, it's the intensity. It's all residential and zero park on this one, all residential, zero park, all residential, zero park. And now here we finally have an opportunity to speak on one, and they're saying we only want to do half the dedication that we should be.
So one of the challenges is the opportunity to negotiate more park space and truly meet the Quimby requirement is done at the track level, not necessarily at the specific plan level, which is for good reason. But it certainly does not do anything to address what's already occurred on all the areas north of Santa Rosa Academy. It is a little bit of a challenge. I think the plan has come in many forms over time here for everything within the Menifee Town Center proper. And so what you see here is really the latest and greatest. The only thing I'll point out is as you continue along Town Center Drive and you're just south of the roundabout, you see some blue areas and some sort of meandering lines in there.
Yes.
Those are intended to be passive, like parkway areas where there's trails and things like that.
Okay.
However, as it was presented by the applicant, those were going to be HOA facilities.
Okay.
Even then, they were passive.
Yeah.
So
But those are helpful to take away some of that intensity of the feel for the bulk and the scale as you're
yes,
driving through. And
breaks it up. Yes.
I
Mhm.
agree with that. Commissioner Croy?
Yeah, while we're on the subject here, could we get an update on what's going on the Central Park? I think the idea here, and once again, we are not the Planning Commission, but, we want to speak on certain things. I do remember that there was a proposed bridge to go across to make all of that intensity walkable to the town center shopping. What I'm seeing here is you now have all this intensity, and you're going to have to get in your car, you're going to have to go down Town Center Drive, go 300 yards to go to the new Aldi store. I don't know how that bridge got out of there, but it was I would really encourage, for what it's worth for me, I would encourage that because the new design concepts, we're talking about walkable communities, less car dependent, trails, walkable space. You already have a very successful a trail on both sides of the wash there that is used constantly. You see it all the time. And to not be able to access, for all those people in the high-intensity areas, to not be able to walk to those markets, we're just defeating the purpose here.
So to answer the Commissioner's question, an update on really the park improvement for Central Park and what was once included as a pedestrian bridge, the original development agreement amendment essentially achieved the park improvement as a primary installation of the entire town center before anything else could move forward. And there was a administrative adjustment letter that was executed by the city manager and the developer, effectively eliminating that pedestrian bridge. And then there, as I understand, as of this week, actually, I guess it occurred last week, there was a second administrative letter executed between the city and the developer to value engineer down some of the improvements in Central Park. And this included removing the restroom building, as well as the splash pad. And as I understand, there was concern by the developer on cost of those improvements. Now, I've been told that some of that stuff was going on, but again, there's been nothing formal presented. There have been plans that have come through, but again, we have not signed any Mylars to support that hard change. The only Mylars we've signed was the full improvement that you've seen. And so I just came across the executed letter yesterday that essentially removes those components from the park. And that was not executed by our department. It was done at a higher level in the city, and so that's what it is now. What I've been told is that the city would come in to do the restroom and possibly splash pad improvement just as soon as the region is done. However, I don't particularly know where the money will come from for that. As you know, our park diff funds are pretty much planned out for the next year and beyond. And so unless there's an influx of diff money, I don't know how we could achieve that immediately.
Wow. All right, we're lighting up like a Christmas tree here. Commissioner Croy.
Thank you for that information. It's very disappointing. So basically what we're saying as far as the restroom go, we're recreating Audie Murphy Park all over again. We're going backwards, not forwards.
To an extent.
It's not the right move. It's just not the right move, and I think, I can't speak for anybody else on the commission here, but I think that we should make it clear to the council that we don't think that's a good idea, plain and simple. So I would ask to, maybe we can put a consensus statement together to state that.
That's a very good point. Commissioner Rosen.
I absolutely agree that we should send a letter to the city council in our strongest tone, telling them how wrong it is to do that.
Okay, and Commissioner Gidroy, go ahead.
Does the council know about these changes? At what level did this take place?
The adjustments to what was originally in the development agreement amendment, and compared to what is proposed today, the
Yes.
council has not weighed in on that. No, it was executed at the city management level, not at the city council level.
So the council will be made aware of it through what means?
I don't have an answer to that.
Okay.
If it were to continue as it's currently proposed,
Mhm.
they may not ever know. I think what's being proposed tonight, though, is to send them a letter so they are informed.
Exactly.
Which I believe is good, and it should happen. But yeah,
So at this point, it's in a gray area. Do we need to make a motion to put that letter out there?
Yeah, that's actually a good idea. So
I will-
maybe what we do is just, it sounds like we have a sense of the commission. Commissioner Holcomb, you feel the same? So, yeah, I mean, if you want, I can draft something up. Are you
Sure.
okay with that? It's just basically encouraging our council really to make sure they're aware, I guess. It's an awareness thing, and I believe that our city manager serves at the council's pleasure, and, and if, in the past, there was the first administrative adjustment letter that removed that pedestrian bridge from the developer's responsibility financially. And I remember when that happened, some of our council members at the time, it might have been a year ago, were unaware. And it came as a surprise to them and said, the city staff did what? And so I don't want to see it happen again with the restroom. I mean, come on, comes with a park. We need a restroom. Now, the splash pad, if you all recall, it was something we didn't even care for in the first place, but we were overrode by the city manager who said, no, we're moving forward with the plan as is. And so we were kind of dismissed, I guess, which is painful, but it is what it is. The power is where it is. But we do have a voice, and So yeah, let's put together a letter. I'm all for that. Commissioner Croy.
Yes, let's not forget that this is the Central Park, and it's going to be the focus of our city. That's what it was conceptualized as, that's what it was sold as, that's what we believed it was, and now it's going to be a sloped grassy knoll with a cement place where a band can set up, and they'll probably have to run extension cords from the homes to get power to their speakers. It's not acceptable, I'm sorry.
All right, so I think, when we're looking at the whole thing, there's a lot of frustrations, but let's take it back to what was being brought before us today, and that's the tentative track map 36303. So any other concerns or recommendations as far as what's in front of us on the screen?
I guess I'll say it. Throw out all the homes, make the whole thing a park.
All right. I guess we're ready to move on with that, and so I will draft up a letter, and I'll run it. Basically, I'll send it to, I guess, our clerk, and then let her send it to everybody so that we're not communicating through email, and make any revisions from there that need to be made. All right, very good. Let's move on. Our next agenda item, make sure I got the right number, is 8.2, and it's we're going to take a look at the Adame contract. There's an amendment and a fund appropriation.
Yes, good evening, Commissioner Chair and Commissioners. 8.2 does ask for authorize the city manager to execute addendum number 2 for the Adame contract. Back in 2015, the Adame got a contract to do landscape maintenance for the year 15-16. Towards the end of that year, we decided to go out and solicit some bids for new landscaping. In the meantime, we asked Adame to give us 2 months of temporary service. When we put together the agreement, we based that on the 12-month year for each site. And we also did not include two areas that we exited. We ended up taking over the maintenance of, which was the Newport Phase 1 and also Murphy Ranch Road area. So the addendum number 2 would kind of correct that and bring the funds in to pay the last invoice for Adame for the 2 months that they did temporary service for us. For Spirit Park, for the 7 months, and actually the 2 months for Spirit Park, we based that on a 12th month, and it should have been a 7th month of funds on that year. So that's what we came up short on that invoice for their maintenance. And then the 2 added sites that we took over for maintenance after the first addendum was signed, we brought those 2 on board. So that's where the other shortfall was on those 2. On the second item, to reappropriate funds from CFD 2012-1 to finish off removing the slope behind the baseball diamond at AMR. And once that slope is removed, we're going to go in there and do a mow curbing with DG in the middle to kind of make it more of a usable space. We tried to get that done before the fall festival, but we kind of fell short a little bit on that. As you can see on some of the pictures there, the first top one, you'll see where the red line is where we removed the slope, and on the green line is the additional slope we wanted to remove. And on the pictures on the bottom left, you'll see where we took some out. You can see the baseball field fence is exposed, and you can and it's pretty good visibility now between the baseball diamond all the way to the skate park, soccer field. You can see all the way across there. Before it was kind of hidden behind that slope. And if you go to the middle, I'm sitting on top of the slope taking that picture, looking towards the area that we'd removed. I think we took out 1,000 cubic yards of soil there. And then on the last picture, you'll see it's kind of a side view. On the left is where we removed soil, and on the right is where the slope still exists. So we'll be taking that down to open up the park a lot more and give us good visibility throughout the whole area. Even when you're driving down Newport, you'll be able to see into the park all the way across to the backstop of the ball diamond. So in total, for the soil removal, the mow curbing and the stabilized DG, the cost is $39,000. So we're asking for $40,000 for that project, plus the I think it was $12,136 for a dummy, to go ahead and pay out the last invoice for that CFD. So we'd like for you guys to make that recommendation to the city manager to execute addendum number 2, and also the appropriations for funds.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Solano. So I got a couple of blinkers here, so let's start with Commissioner Gidroy.
How much money has been spent so far on that slope? It isn't mentioned in here.
Oh, I'm sorry. We spent $23,000 on removing that first half of that slope. We actually, it sounds like a lot of money, but we did save a lot of money because we ended up taking our spoils to our city property, so we didn't have to pay an additional fee to have it set somewhere else.
So the slope was put in by the landscape architect, obviously, when this project was built. Where along the line did we decide it needed to go? I just don't know the history on this.
I'll trace it back to my first day on the job.
Really?
When I walked the site, and in addition to walking the skate park, I looked at the rest and said, this is a nightmare. It's going to be a problem that we have to deal with sometime in the future.
Okay, then we got into it, and then we basically ran out of money.
Well, in the current fiscal year operating budget, yeah, we do not have enough money to do this work as it's budgeted today. And so that's why the appropriation of funds are being requested.
Okay, if we rolled it over into the following year, would it be able to wait, or is that a bad idea?
I think the current condition is somewhat of an eyesore. And because it comes from the CFD fund reserve, it doesn't matter if you do it this year or next year. The money still stays there. It's still driven by the assessment revenues.
Okay.
Unlike the general
That's
fund.
what I was thinking in terms of, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Commissioner Holcomb?
Yes, I think Robert may have answered it. Joe, is this $52,136.46 coming out of the $800,000 that are available in Fund 490?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Then we're also we're also removing turf there, so that gives us some water savings on that area too.
And just for our edification, when the developer installed this ball field and put a berm there, was there a rationale that they thought maybe it would be a sound barrier or something like that?
No, actually, we found out through a contractor that was working on the park cleaning out the storm drains. He was part of the builders crew, maybe, or something like that. And what he told us was that they crushed the rock that was on site and had leftover spoils, so they decided to put it back there. Really is what it was. It was no real rhyme or reason. They needed to get rid of their spoils.
Okay,
That's just what he told us, so there's no,
okay. Commissioner Croy?
The idea wasn't to stop Barry Bonds from hitting a dinger over to Newport, right?
No, we don't believe so.
All right.
All right, so half of the berm has been removed, and we still need to remove the other half, and we need to authorize that, right?
Yes, yes, sir.
All right, so how's the commission feel? We're okay with it? Authorize the funds? All right, sounds, well, yeah, Commissioner Holcomb, go ahead.
I'm sorry, just one more. Joe, is this included in the remedial improvements to AMR, or is this something completely separate?
I don't.
The skate park. I'm sorry. I got my wires crossed. Never mind.
Separate.
So let's just do it a little bit formal. If I can get a motion for, to approve the contract amendment and fund appropriation.
So moved.
And a second? Somebody? Commissioner
Second.
Holcomb, seconds. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Hearing none. You have your sense of
Thank
the
you.
commission. All right. So, item 9, director comments, please. 9.1. Parks in Progress.
Thank you. First one, Parks in Progress. Just a few updates to provide. First of all, on Hidden Hills Park, this is the KB development. There's been some good movement on it. They had submitted Project 7, which we provided comments back to them on, and we're expecting a return on that any day now. They are eager to build because they're also coming up against a threshold of permit issuance, and they'll need to have the park built before they do anything more. So that's very, very soon. Jumping down to number 6, as I mentioned, the second administrative adjustment letter has been completed. And then finally jumping down to item number 12. And I want to preface by saying that the naming of these is not final. So it's just called Cottonwood Park because it's part of the Cottonwood development. It can be called whatever the commission and council end up essentially wanting it to be called. The developer doesn't have a preference. But this park, the landscape Mylars were signed this week, and the building plans are currently in review, and I think they're going to be wrapped up very soon. They are, I think, as I mentioned before, one permit past their threshold, so they can't get issued anything else. They literally can't do anything until the park is built. So they are very eager to get moving dirt.
Good. That's the way it should be. Okay, Commissioner Croy, did you have a question?
Yeah, one quick question on number 2 there, Menifee Heights. Curious, that's in my neck of the woods.
I'm sorry, I glossed over that one, yeah.
That's okay. So merchant builders come in and interest? in it?
Yeah, so the party is in escrow with CV Communities, and I've met with their representative today to talk about the park. Just so you're aware, they are interested in possibly looking at a small redesign to the park. It would reduce the overall use of the park, but would provide us a little more utility. And I can explain that if they go through with a submittal. If they don't, it'll stay as is. So I don't want to alarm anybody beyond that. But if they do that, we would be getting something out of it, you better believe.
Enough surprises for tonight.
Yes.
Because that's one project that has some intensity to it,
Mhm.
and they've over-dedicated park space, which is great. We love that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And on that one, will, what's Mike White's company?
CV Communities.
CV Communities, will they remain the master, or it'll just be sold and party, you'll take it all?
All of it.
Okay. And so there were some things that we felt were very important, like trail connection, going up into the hills and all of that kind of stuff, and so,
That remains.
good, thank you. That's all I have. All right, Rec Division.
Good evening, Commissioners. Recreation Division had a very successful month of November. Just to breeze through some of these, the Senior Center had over 2,000 participants in the month. Want to highlight that they did have a Veterans Day recognition breakfast that was very successful. We had quite a few veterans there in attendance, and they all had a great time. Lazy Creek After School program continues to be highly successful with 22 attending daily. Our Tiny Tot program is still totally full. Haven't had an opening since I've been here, and that's been over a year now, so it's exciting to continue progress. Our contract classes continue to gain interest and participation. We're up to about 81 participants per month now. And our sports field allocations, we're getting a lot of soccer club teams coming in to extend their season and things of that nature. Some of the baseball teams have had some postseason parent versus kid games that they've rented out the field for, so that's been nice. And then our indoor facility rentals continue to be very popular as well. In November, we had a few special events, starting off with the Historical Monument Unveiling Ceremony. I know a lot of the commissioners were there. Great event. Thought it was very well received, and was happy to see about 100 or more in attendance, even though it was in the morning on a weekday. So that was exciting that we had a good turnout for that. Big thanks to the Mott family for hosting and all their support for the event as well. Our Veterans Day event on November 11th, we had over 300 in attendance. I know one of the great welcome additions was providing food for all in attendance, for the veterans first, of course, but everybody did end up getting a hot dog provided by the Knights of Columbus and the Rotary Club. And then BJ's was in attendance also to serve some salads. So overall, a great event. And then this past Thursday, the Menifee Interfaith, City of Menifee and Falco Thanksgiving dinner. This is a preliminary number. I had heard I had to leave a little bit early, but it looks like they had over 400 meals served this year, and probably just as many volunteers showed up to help out. So It was really nice. They had one volunteer basically per table, so everybody was served, and they didn't really have to go out of their seats to get anything. And it was just a really nice day for those individuals that needed some extra support during the holidays. And this is just a breakdown of some of the participation numbers and some of the revenue that we were able to achieve this past month. We are up to over 39,000 in attendance at our different events, classes, and programs, and that's just about halfway through the year. So we're pretty excited about that number being so high at this point, as well as the revenue being a little bit higher than I believe where it was last year at this point.
Good.
And special events update, this is a little bit of an extension. At the last meeting, it was requested that we add special events from the community as well as the events offered by the Community Services Department. So you'll see a couple of new additions on here, but just to briefly cover these. This Saturday, our Breakfast with Santa event, we have 3 servings. The 9:30 a.m. service is already sold out, so that's a good thing, but we do have 8 a.m. still available as well as 11:30, so great morning for everybody that does come out. I highly encourage anybody listening or in attendance to come out. And then next up, the Winter Art Gallery reception, which is the next day on Sunday, December 4th at Case Sinisteros. That's another free event from 2:30 to 4:30, and that's sponsored by the Arts Council Menifee. And then, of course, our tree lighting ceremony is next Saturday over at Menifee Town Center. 40 tons of snow, visit from Santa, the official lighting of the city tree. And we're excited that we're going to have a full slate of entertainment this year. And it's all community-based performances. So you'll see a lot of faith-based performances. You'll see youth music groups, things of that nature. So it's going to be, and Paloma Valley Band will be there as well, performing holiday music. The Gathering Church will be having a family Christmas concert on Saturday, December 17th, also at Case Sinisteros. That's a free event. And then, of course, the menorah lighting on Saturday, December 27th from 5:30 to 7:30 at the Countryside Marketplace, and that'll be between the Breakfast Club and the Doghouse.
Got it. Commissioner Rosen.
Just a quick statement, that has to be changed to 5.
5 o'clock, okay. Is
Yeah.
it 5 to 7?
5 to 7.
Okay.
And does that wrap it up, Jason?
Yes, that concludes my report. Thank you.
All right, so before we move on, can you tell us how the SMAF thing went?
Oh, sure. Yeah, and you'll see on the picture here at the bottom, the team receiving the Agency of the Year award for the SMAF Inland Empire organization. That was quite an honor to receive that. I believe the entire team was actually there, so that was nice. Very good night for us. A lot of good recognition, and we're excited to move forward. I'll be on the board this year again as the director, and then I'm also hoping to I'm on the ballot to be vice president of CPRS District 11. So vote for Jason if you're a voting member.
Well, congratulations on the award.
Thank you.
I believe the commissioners do get a vote. If you haven't gotten
That's
an
actually
email,
true.
then please get your vote in.
You definitely will. I don't think I'm running against anybody, but it'll still be nice. Hopefully nobody writes themselves in against me.
Hey, that seems to be a pattern here in Menifee.
Yeah. Thank you.
And then, how's the electronic message board going with users? Are people finding that?
Yeah, thank you for asking. It's been very popular thus far. We've had the Arts Council Menifee submitted some work. Relay for Life is getting ready to submit something for their event. And then we sent the email out with the application and instructions to all of the community partner emails that we have, which I think is over 70. And then, of course, at our next community partners meeting, which will be Tuesday, December 13th, we'll talk about that. But there's a lot of interest. We just haven't had too many come in yet, but people are excited about being able to post on there, and we're getting a lot of good feedback from the residents on the appearance of the board. I know Joe and his guys were great to put that in, and now Christina's doing a good job of putting the images on there. So
I noticed it the other day, and it was very graphically pleasing aesthetically.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
It was nice to see that. And also at Case Sinisteros Center, can you guys update us? Maybe Joe can, as far as the security cameras and things. It looked like I saw some guys that were putting those in last week, or maybe they were getting it ready for it.
Right. Actually, I got an email today, kind of give us an update. Some of the cameras are working, but we just don't have access to them yet. They are recording. I believe Derek here at City Hall can view and record, pick up the recording if we needed to. The wireless backhaul between Case Sinisteros and Lazy Creek should be, we're hoping that it'll be up and running by Monday. We're hoping that everything's will be up and running by Monday of next week.
Cool.
That'll be AMR, Spirit Park, Casey Center, North Annex, Lazy Creek, everything should be online by Monday.
Once that's all set and done, do you think maybe we can take a look at how that works and see
Sure.
Operations Central and all that?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, but even maybe just seeing what you're able to see here and all that sort of thing, so.
Sure, of course.
Excellent, thank you. All right, so capital improvements 9-4, is that gonna be Mr. Howell?
Well, that'll be
Howell?
me. I'll give him a break. And the C007 park furnishing replacements, we ordered some furniture, picnic benches, waste receptacles, and picnic tables. And we're finally kind of able to pick out some of the parks to replace some of the old concrete and just picnic tables that were just in shambles. As you can see here, that's at La Ladera Park with a new trash can, new picnic bench. And these are to our standards, so we're just trying to bring everything, on our side into our standards. And the picture on the right side, that's just a lone trash can, but it really makes a big difference. This is at Nova Park. Before, that's where the concrete trash cans were. They just, maybe in the 80s they were nice, but now we're just trying to modernize it a little bit and then bring our parks to our standards. Bottom left, you can see that's also at Nova Park. We put in a bench there in the shade area, so residents and the neighborhood can enjoy that. And then you can see the monument going in the center there. That was for the Newport family.
That's right.
They got that one going.
Good.
So you can see it looks really nice, and it just really blends in there with that area.
Awesome. Do you mind sending me those two pictures?
Sure.
Thank you. I think our people are gonna love seeing that.
And then we, continuing the furnishings, we did some new barbecues, one at Lyle Marsh. We continue to improve that park and the big picnic shelters that are there. So now we have two barbecues. So two families or two people that rent that area can, have a barbecue each. We're also going to put the hot, cold receptacles in there too once we finish that up. On the center picture, that's at La Ladera, and then the picture on the right is at Peterson. That's at the new picnic shelters that we just put in. We needed some picnic barbecues there for the residents to use. The two bottom ones, this is just a little bit of an update on the skate park gate. We're finally able to find some good hinges that close that big heavy gate on its own. And so I just give you a close-up of the hinge itself on the right side, and it really works well. So we're pretty happy about that. We've tried, I think, 4 or 5 different hinges, and it just did not work.
It's a heavy door.
It is a heavy door. And this is just some other work that the staff has been doing on some capital outlays, on some, you can see this is on 3 location, Ford, Valley, and Chambers. They went in there, repaired some of the irrigation system, and put in new plant material. We'll follow up with mulch on that soil. So we're just trying to beautify that neighborhood and just give back to that neighborhood, just make it look nice.
Is that drip irrigation now for these?
On this we left it as spray, but the nozzles are the newer nozzles where it's not such a spray, more of a big droplet, so it doesn't directional, so it doesn't the wind doesn't take it away. In other words, so it's heavier water, so it'll stay at where we're watering.
Good.
Spirit Park Playground rubberized surface repair started on Monday. As you can see, they cut around the edge. The first layer, and they'll come in and just lay a whole new layer on top, and that 2 foot around the edge just gives us that bevel down into the sidewalk.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I was watching that today.
I want to just add a little more flavor to Joe's update on this. As you'll recall, Brookfield had placed these surfaces in when they built both those parks and dedicated them to the city, but as you might recall, they were failing. The material was crumbling. It became a health and safety issues. Kids could easily slip. And so it just meant there was an error when they did the application of the pour in place. It's a 2-part mix. It could have been a weather issue. It could have been wrong amounts. And so this is a fix for it, and it's covered under warranty, and we're not paying a cent for it.
Oh, beautiful. That was my concern, is that that park is brand spanking new, and it sure looked great for about a week. Yeah, I'm glad to see it's being fixed.
Yeah, and we also get an extended warranty for another year after it gets completed, so, and we thank Robert for fighting for that. That was a process of, what, about 8-month process, I believe, to get it to this point here, from the developer and the company that's putting it in.
Commissioner Gidroy?
Moving back across the street, did we get that portable bathroom out of Odie Murphy that was by the skate park? Or is that still sitting there?
Actually, that's still sitting there. It should be, we asked the company to remove it today. I noticed that it's still there as of 5 o'clock. We'll follow up with the company today to get it removed.
Okay, thanks.
Yes.
Now I think we're at Bryce.
Yes.
Good evening.
Before you do that, could
Sorry.
I just ask one?
Go ahead, Marty.
Whatever happened with all of the back and forth with Valleywide on the Newport area?
The landscaping elemental.
The status is we're still waiting for a resubmittal on their plans,
Oh, boy.
meaning the final Mylar submittal. They haven't resubmitted it yet, and so the condition is the same. And that's only, Mylars would be only for the Newport corridor. The other components along La Piedra, Menifee, and Antelope are still in violation.
All right, Mr. Powell. It's Powell. I keep saying
Howell.
Howell. It is Howell.
Howell with an H.
There was the other guy, and I knew I was going to get you guys mixed up. Sorry about that.
All right, good evening. With our maintenance report, year to date, we're at 99%. I have 2 open work orders. Just this month, we did 31. We have 31 out. We've completed 30 of them. It's not as many as some of the others, but we've done some bigger projects with some of the vandalism at some of our restrooms that we've had at AMR. They're from the skate park, from the skaters there, and then from some homeless over at the La Ladera restroom. So if you look at the AMR, the first picture, the top right, those big holes are from skateboard wheels. The kids or whoever it was had hit, broke out the tile, the drywall, everything in there. So we went through there, put 3/4-inch plywood, painted it so they can't puncture holes through that wall anymore. We actually repaired it once. They came back, did it again the following weekend. So we decided to put 3/4-inch plywood up there. Looks really nice. It doesn't look, repair the tile. It doesn't look like it's not supposed to be there. So, and then at La Ladera, we've had some homeless problems there, crawling up in the rafters, sleeping up there, destroying, burning, doing a lot of things in there. So what we did is we just blocked off that window access that's up there. So now, it doesn't look like it. It always looks like was always there like that. So.
Let me follow up with some that you can hardly see where the light fixture on top of the ceiling where the rafters, there's an opening. The design was to let sunlight in from a window to the right side. Once you get up to the right side, up to the roof line, that would let natural light in there during the day. And that's where he was going. So staff went in there and put plywood drywall. And then the next day he came in and tore it back up. So this is the second repair on that park also.
And so is there a way to get any natural lighting in there, or you have to rely on the fluorescent?
It's the fluorescent lights now. And then just so it's not on here, we ordered all the new playground equipment. Well, it'll be matching the existing equipment, but it's just new for the Lazy Creek Park. That takes 4 to 6 weeks to come in, so that'll be coming in, which will be a nice enhancement for that park. For the playground.
Were we able to remove that one damaged piece?
Yeah,
from there?
that one's already been reinstalled.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
We ordered that and already came in, and that one's in.
Awesome.
So there's no damaged, just old parts there now that we'll be replacing.
Great, thank you.
And I want to take this opportunity to publicly embarrass Bryce for accomplishing what you probably all saw on email in achieving his certificate for playground safety inspection. So that's a big accomplishment, and it means that anytime something goes wrong, we can blame him.
Thank you, guys. I saw an email from everybody as well, so thank you for
Congratulations.
congratulating me.
All right. Thank you very much for the updates. Let's go to item 10, Commissioner reports. Anybody have anything on Commissioner Croy?
Yeah, a couple things. I'm glad you brought that up. I wanted to mention that, Mr. Howell, good job. I'd also like to, once again, congratulate Mr. Rosen on his speedy recovery. Nobody could be happier than me. Great man there. And good doctors, thank goodness. I do want to give a little report on the Riverside County Trails. I attended the last meeting, and it's a whole new world up there, from what I understand, and a couple of my fellow commission members here may want to make sure you're sitting down. They are scrapping the entire plan for Riverside County Trails. They have hired a consultant. They're going to be redoing the plan with the emphasis on basically reducing the footprint of the scope of their plan, because according to Mr. Brewer, it has failed. They've realized that after so many years, the way of getting trails is extraction, basically extracting them from developers, and they are finding that that is not working. So unfortunately or fortunately, I put my hand up and volunteered to be on their technical advisory committee, so I hope to have some input in that, and hopefully we can come up with something else that will work. They're not throwing away the stuff that's been done, obviously, but they're rethinking the entire process, because they have a plan that they don't have any money for. They've never been given money for it, and basically been told by the supervisors, go build it, and you're not getting any money. And they're not getting any more money soon. So it's going to be a very interesting ride with them. Also, I had one other thing. I'll talk about that at future agenda items. Thanks, that's my report.
Where are they getting the money for the consultant?
They found the money for that.
Yeah.
And
Funny how that works.
Funny how that works. But the other thing too is I would hopefully request that if anybody knows anybody that lives in District 3, Mr. Washington's district, those 2 seats have been unchaired for a year. So we really, really need somebody to come in and start representing Mr. Washington's area.
Okay. We can push for that for you.
Thanks.
Yeah. All right, Commissioner Rosen?
Just a point of information with regard to that the chief of staff for Chuck is changing.
Okay. And I'm sorry, but I did want to bring up one other thing.
Go right ahead.
According to Mr. Brewer, also, the Salt Creek Trail has now hit a major blocker. One of the entities, and he wouldn't identify this entity, now wants $900,000 to complete what they have already planned, and they don't know where they're getting that money. So everything that we were told that's going to happen there has now been put on hold until the county comes up with $900,000 just for our Menifee part of it. Ouch. Sorry.
I got a lot of questions
Whatever
about that.
happened to the $5.1 million that we got for that?
They hired a consultant.
Should we invite Mr. Brewer to come
I don't know.
Have you had communication on it, Robert, with the?
None at all. It's been all quiet. That's news to me as well, and I'm curious what the impacts are to the Salt Creek project because, as you know, AMR North is hot and heavy, and that is part of the component. And so we've got landscaping on AMR North that's just adjacent north side of the trail and just adjacent south side of the trail. And so if that's not happening, it changes a couple of things. So.
And the way I understand it, the first leg of phase or funding is down here, starting at Canyon Lake and working its way east. So if they're not moving forward, I know there's the weird part going around the Oasis, but the rest of
I
it
asked
should
that
have been a
question,
lot.
and it has nothing to do with it.
Yeah, okay. Well, thanks for the update. It's bad news. I had a question about just looking at future agendas. So here we are coming up on the end of the year, and will we be electing new commission chair and vice chair at the next meeting, or does that happen?
January, first meeting in January is usually when that happens.
Good. Just curious when we do that. Anything else from commissioners? All right, so I think at this point, unless we have any future agenda items that anyone wants to add,
I'm full of it tonight.
do it.
The couple of gentlemen that came up here and spoke, pro skaters, making money, making a living at AMR, city might have a problem with that. We should explore, just like we do at Case Cisneros, if you want to make a living at AMR, at a public park, you're gonna have to pay. And my grandson, like I said, he skates there all the time, and he mentions these guys, hey, we got pro skaters there. So we need to maybe bring that up at a future agenda time. I'm all for them being able to use the facility, but we have to come to some sort of offset.
I agree. Does anybody know how that works?
They charge the kids as he comes through the gate.
I think what the speaker is referring to indirectly, and what we've heard from speakers at prior meetings, is there's folks that do unofficial lessons at the park. So we experience that not just with skate, but also with, mom gaming classes and, yoga in the park. They just come and set up shop. And the only way we catch them is either by someone else telling us, or we're out there doing an audit and we see them. And so Christina, who is our coordinator who oversees contract classes, she typically is trying to wrangle those people in when she comes across them
You probably had the same thing in other cities where you've worked.
all the time.
Do they ever issue business licenses, or is it just, do you expect them to contribute towards this park? What do they do?
Once we're aware, we call a meeting with them and let them know the proper procedure, and it does include getting a business license. They have to become a vendor with the city, and then they can execute a contract class agreement with us, which gives them a portion of the revenues collected, and they can do registration through us. That way we're insured, what the cash flow is. We know what it is. So that's the standard we do here now. That's the standard. It's been used in a lot of other cities.
Okay.
I think we refer to them as gypsies or something like that. But what if they just keep doing it? What kind of authority or power do we have to stop them if they just want to keep being scofflaws?
All of this is good fervor and justification for a park ranger to assist with enforcement of the current code. The current code essentially just says that we do have the opportunity to cite them, and that would come with a fine. And then, of course, if they don't pay it or if they continue, then there's other ramifications. But right now, we don't have the bodies to be out in the field 24/7 to do that.
Yeah, I think it's always preferable to try the nice route first.
Yes.
And so you mentioned park ranger, so can you remind us what the thought was as far as, are we considering that and that sort of thing?
Yeah, as Commissioner Rosen asked earlier, the results of an RFP, RFQ for the skate park supervision will come back to the commission first. It will include a two-part process. It'll include those results and a recommendation you will make to council on what to do, whether you want to choose to have it supervised by, a consultant with the price tag that's been given, and or have a park ranger component either to complement it or to essentially be in lieu of it. And so you'll have hard figures on both, the contract price and then also a ranger program to offset or to do it instead.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, looking forward to that.
Are you thinking that we're going to need more than one at a time? Are we going to need more than one ranger present at any given time?
No, that's not the intent. I think we would propose for that item the hiring of multiple rangers who have overlapping schedules.
Okay.
The ranger responsibility is obviously, and authority comes with a little bit more than what, say, one of our coordinators or our part-time staff has. They have the authority to cite, And of course, you know, they could or could not carry a weapon. Neighboring cities don't have weapons, like Temecula and Murrieta and also Elsinore, they do not carry a weapon. So, but they do have the authority to cite, no different than one of our code enforcement officers currently do.
Okay.
Maybe my thought process is getting too far advanced, but we were talking about another skate park down the road. So will that be addressed in any way concerning these recommendations to council?
Whatever is decided now would apply to anything in the future too. You wouldn't want to have a
Yes,
set
sir.
of rules for this park that are different from the other one.
So if we have a vendor who's, say, there, we would probably propose the same thing for the next park.
It would make the most sense to do that.
And expensive.
Anybody else with anything before we adjourn? Hearing none, we are done.